Hello everybody, welcome to the FIA ETRC Digital. We're into the second half of the season this evening, and the first stop on our remaining championship trail is Most in the Czech Republic. 2 races, of course, this evening. Then we have a break of a couple of weeks before we head to Zolder, then to Le Mans, and we finish at Jarama. Not only then do we enter the second half of the championship season, but we do so with the news from that last round that Norbert Kish is beatable after all. Remember the second race at the Nürburgring, Teo Calvé making history by being the first person to beat the previously dominant championship leader. Every Superpole dominated by Norbert Kish, every race won by Norbert Kish until that reverse grid encounter. He got a penalty in it, so too did Sascha Lentz, the 2 penalties effectively cancelling themselves out. But it was Teo Calvé who benefited in part from the reverse grid that came through to score his first win in this championship, his first win in the Freightliner for the Bagheera Racing squad, and of course to give himself a real leg up within the championship, because the points are scored equally in race 1 and race 2, unlike in the real world FIA ETRC, where the points for the first and third races based on a Superpole qualifying session are weighted over and above the reverse grid races. So Norbert Kish comes here as the championship leader from Sascha Lentz, and then Teo Calvé third in the standings. Behind that, Antonio Albacete, who is missing this evening. So too, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, and the top 6 rounded out by Jamie Anderson. We've also lost, I'm afraid, for this evening, Alia Koloc, who's not been able to get to the sim rig at the Bagheera Racing HQ in time. So it's a slightly smaller grid, but all the stars are very much there. Norbert Kish, Adam Lachko, Sascha Lentz, Lucas Hahn, for example, topping the times thus far in Superpole. Superpole is what's going to give us the grid for the first race. So let's head trackside and catch up with what's going on in the all-important Superpole session, with Norbert Kish at the moment being the fastest. Norbert, remember, championship leader and the dominant driver thus far. Sascha Lentz, second quickest. Now, he has just bailed down the pit lane. So Sascha Lentz to the pits. Lucas Hahn is now shown as third fastest. Now, a quick word, there he is, about Lucas Hahn, also about Jonathan Andre, about Bjorn Teichhaus and Frans Smit, who is also this evening a guest within the championship, because they are now retrospectively going to be able to have a points tally. What they get for a finishing position they will keep, but only 50% of those points, because they were late entries or guest entries, not registered for the championship. But in the case of Jonathan Andre particularly, and now Lucas Hahn, they're going to be good to do the rest of the season. Seems a little harsh not to give them any reward at all. So the guest drivers, the late entries, are now going to be scoring points, but they will be getting only 50% of what they would score. So you take half the points for your finishing position. Now there is Lucas Hahn, currently third within the qualifying standings. Let's see whether this is going to be another improvement at the end of this lap for him. Sascha Lentz is back on track. And we have now the view on board from Sascha Lentz's track. Now the Most circuit in the Czech Republic, an hour or so away from Prague Airport, 4.2 kilometers long. It's been a mainstay of European truck racing's calendar for many, many seasons. It always delivers a big crowd, always delivers lots of support, of course, for local ace Adam Lachko, but it's a really twisty circuit, sometimes affected by grim weather as well. Last year we lost the Sunday races because the track conditions were just too bad to go racing. We've got one driver under investigation. Race control having a look at Teo Calvé. So we'll see whether anything comes of that. It's to do with track limits, so it could be that he's going to lose a lap time as a consequence. So Teo Calvé, for the moment, is 5th fastest. But Norbert Kish topping the times, 2 minutes 1.272. Now there is Jonathan Andre, who has made a real hit within the championship. Now bear in mind that he came into this very much as a replacement for Anthony Janiek, and yet he has been a regular on the podium all the way through. He's been at the pointy end of the grid. He's been very competitive indeed. So actually, when after this evening we do start to apply these points to the guests, to the late entries, Jonathan Andre in particular, I think he's going to find himself storming up that leaderboard. Jonathan Andre for the Lion Truck Racing team. He's had a second place as his best, but he is certainly going to be a man to watch over the remainder of the season. Now, Teo Calvé has had a second warning for track limits now. They're going through is Teo Calvé, 5th quickest currently, but yet to put himself really in the mix. So he's got to get himself ahead of fellow countryman Jonathan Andre if he can. Ideally, he wants to be ahead of the next of the young guns, which is, of course, Lucas Hahn. 3rd generation racer is Lucas. His father, Jochen Hahn, multiple European champion, and of course, granddad to the late Conny Hahn, hugely successful in the sport as well. Teo Calvé that you're looking at, his father Fabien is the French commentator for the championship, but also a racer, a champion, an administrator. So it's another family steeped in truck racing history and indeed success here. Now there is Norbert Kish remaining the fastest, and actually by 0.8 of a second. That's some margin now. Lucas Hahn trying to get himself, if he can, onto that front row, but he's giving away 0.3 of a second yet to Sascha Lentz. So on board with Norbert Kish, this brings you round the back of the paddock, heavy braking. Turn right, the checkered flag is out, and Teo Calvé, just as the flag comes out, we have confirmation, loses his best lap time due to track limit abuse. This then is the exit of the final corner onto the pit straights. This is turn 21, just to give you an indication of how twisty, admittedly it's a long lap, but how twisty a lap it is. And over the line goes Norbert Kish in order to secure pole position then. There he is, Norbert Kish, good for pole position then. And he's done it again. He's dominated every Super Pole session thus far. 2nd fastest, Sascha Lentz. So he's going to be on the outside of the front row. And 3rd, Lucas Hahn. There he is. Now Lucas heads under the Goodyear Bridge then, making the run now up towards the timing line. Is this going to be an improvement for him? He's ahead of Teo Calvé then. Calvé in turn is ahead of Jonathan Andre within the times. Here is Lucas Hahn then now making the run up towards the completion of the lap. Goes under the Grammer gantry. Grammer, of course, the backer of the Truck Cup within the FIA ETRC in the real world for the independent drivers. And a big slide by Hahn, eventually out of turn 20, fires him down the pit lane. So Lucas Hahn comes in. There, in the meantime, is Teo Calvé. Well, he'll get the news on TeamSpeak that he is not going to keep his best lap time. So he's got to get a bit of a wriggle on now. And track limit abuse, as I say, is the reason for the problem. And Teo Calvé gets the message now and I think has bailed out of that lap. So Teo Calvé is going to park it. And that confirms then that Norbert Kish is the fastest at the end of the session from Sascha Lentz, and then Jochen Hahn for 3rd, 4th Teo Calvé provisionally, Jonathan Andre 5th. We'll confirm the grid in due course, but yet again, Norbert Kish proving that he is the man to beat, and that only defeat, of course, has come in a reverse grid race. So you've got to put your money on him, surely, for the first race of the evening. So race 1 is coming up in around about 15 minutes time or so. We'll have the pace lap before it, of course, from the Mercedes Actros, the pace truck for the FIA ETRC. And before all of that, there will be the Ford F-Max lap as well. But before we get to the grid, first of all, the team in race control has an opportunity just to review any penalties or to look at any incidents. The teams can, of course, offer a protest if they feel they've been impeded by another driver. That can also be reviewed by Rolf Werner and his team in race control. So that's why we have the break now, and that will confirm at the end of that period the grid ready for race 1. Then the drivers will join the server ready for the first race, and we will then be in business for, remember, 25 minutes plus a lap, but including the pace lap. So the pace lap eats into the 25 minutes, but then there is the regulation lap put on at the end. So while the drivers get themselves ready, while race control gets busy as well, let's just have a look through the entry ready for this evening and remind ourselves who drives what. So number 15, let's start with the rig in the hands of Bjorn Teichhaus. This truck is regularly to be found in the hands of Erwin Klein-Nagelvoort, but because Erwin is now back to being a haulier, having to run his business, it is Bjorn Teichhaus that takes it over. He's been a good, quick amateur racer, has Bjorn Teichhaus. He really did an impressive job last time out when we saw the rigs at the Nürburgring, and Bjorn Teichhaus there got a fifth place. A sixth place as his best at the Nürburgring, his best of the season, fifth in race one at the Slovakia ring. Now, he's one of those drivers, don't forget, who will now start scoring points, admittedly only 50%, and he'll get them retrospectively as well. So the number 15 truck here, the Bjorn Teichhaus-driven Scania, is going to be one to watch here at Mosh this evening. Shane Brereton has been a real world winner at Mosh in the past, admittedly in a reverse grid race. The best race result for Shane Brereton thus far is an 8th place, and the British driver with the MAN in the Apollo Tyres livery is always well worth watching. Came out of oval racing in the UK through pickup truck racing and then into full truck racing, both in the BTRA, the British Championship, and of course in the FIA ETRC. And Shane Brereton is going to be a driver to watch. No argument about that. Shane Brereton is 11th in the championship. What about Théo Calvé then? He is third in the standings, and he is one of only 2 drivers to have scored a race victory. In other words, he's the only man to have beaten Norbert Kisch thus far. Théo, son of Fabien Calvé, began as a 16-year-old, racing in the French Championship at Nogaro back in 2017, former motocrosser, very successful truck racer in national events, on his occasional FIA ETRC outings as well. And now, not only is he a thorn in the side of Norbert Kisch in terms of pace, he's also closing on Sascha Lentz in the championship. The number 20 Bagheera Racing Freightliner, yet again, is going to be one to watch in the hands of Théo Calvé. Jamie Anderson, the British driver for the Anderson Racing MAN squad, former rallyman. He's been competing in the British Rally Championship, but because the family business, is in the commercial vehicle industry, well, where better to go next than truck racing. He has raced in the BTRA, he has raced in the FIA ETRC, Jamie Anderson's best race result of the season, and he's been a bit unlucky, in fairness, with penalties and incidents. He's had a 5th place. Jamie Anderson is 6th in the championship standings. What about number 25? Clemens Hecker is the regular driver. Tonight, Frans Smit takes over the MAN. Frans is another driver that we've seen in real-world racing, and this is a truck that, in the hands of its owner, has had an 8th place as its best. Let's see what Frans Smit can do this evening. Him versus Bjorn Teichhaus, I would have thought, would make quite an interesting little squabble amongst the two of them. First time he's been in the digital championship, Frans Smit, so he starts with limited knowledge of what virtual truck racing is all about, but no doubt he'll get stuck in over the course of the 2 races. Sascha Lentz still knocking on the door of that first victory. 2nd in the championship, and Sascha Lentz then, who has been there or thereabouts with 4 second places. Perhaps very frustrated that the maiden victory for anybody other than Norbert Kisch wasn't to him, it was to Théo Calvé. But he's put a huge amount of effort into this. 2nd generation racer, 5th in last year's Real World Championship. Sascha Lentz currently 2nd in the FIA ETRC Digital Championship. But this is the man they've all got to beat, with the bright red MAN. Norbert Kisch defecting from very successful indeed, and along with the Bagheera Racing squad has been at the forefront of the sport for many a season now. But in terms of sim racing, Adam is still plying his trade here, still learning, still adapting. He's only 8th in the championship, is Adam Lachko, and the best result that he's had, 2 6th places. What about Jonathan Andre then, the team manager of the Lion Truck Racing team? Why is it Lion Truck Racing? Because the team is based in Lyon. He drives Anthony Janiek's MAN. Anthony back to work now, having to run his kart centre, so not able to give up a Sunday. And so too, Lucas Hahn is going to be a driver to watch. He took 2 4th places at the Nürburgring. That was the first time we'd seen the Sven Walter logistic rig this year, the Iveco, which is going to be on track for both him and for his very accomplished father within the FIA ETRC when we get underway for real. And can Lucas Hahn then start to score race victories? Yes, is the short answer. He's got the ability. We first saw him on track last year in the Mittelrhein Cup, trio of races at the ADAC Truck Grand Prix, and he was within the top 3 in all of them. So Lucas Hahn is certainly with ability, and the more familiarity he gets with sim racing, the more competitive he's going to be. So expect Lucas Hahn to be up near the front of the grid, to be up near the front of the pack here at Most this evening. So the drivers are getting themselves ready. We will head trackside very shortly, ready for the first race of the evening. Remember, it's the same point score across both. It is the usual format. Superpole gives you the race 1 grid. Results of race 1 will shepherd up the grid for race 2 with that reversal of the top 8. Well, we've only got 10 trucks this evening. It's one of the quieter evenings just because of real-world commitments getting in the way for 1 or 2 drivers now. But what that is going to mean is perhaps the fight to be 8th is going to be even more intense. Everybody trying to get themselves into that 8th place and benefit from that reverse grid. In other words, 9th and 10th are going to be really fighting to try to improve if they can. Who is going to be on that reverse grid pole position all depends rather on the outcome of the first couple of corners, because here at Moss you've got the long pit straight and then the first of the chicanes, it's a sharp right, a sharp left. If you can get through that without damage, and it doesn't happen very often, then you've got a chance. The road opens up a little bit, but it's a really twisty lap. The drivers love it because it's a real challenge. Race officials sometimes don't, because it's a real challenge and incidents aplenty can come. So let's see who is best at keeping out of trouble when we get into racing very shortly indeed. Norbert Kish then starting on that pole position. Will confirm the grid as soon as it is confirmed by race control and the trucks start to make their way to the track. In other words, as the drivers join the race server. But the Most circuit ordinarily would get a huge crowd ready to cheer on Adam Lachko, and based, as I say, just an hour or so away from the airport at Prague. It is near the Most town, which is where traditionally on the Friday evening the trucks go for the parade. That always gets a big crowd in itself, never mind the action on track. And for the Czech fans to come out and cheer on Adam Lachko, well, he always rises to the occasion in the real world racing. Let's see whether he's going to be able to do the same this evening as well. Well, the drivers will make their way, as I say, to that grid very shortly. We'll have the Ford F-Max lap as well, ready to get things underway. But before we get to the virtual racing on a virtual Most, let's just remind ourselves what this fabulous Czech facility is all about.
Welcome to Most!
The Autodrome Most, one of the old tracks. It's got a length of 4.2 kilometres, there are gravel traps by the side, lots of fast turn combinations, a chicane after the start-finish line. It's quite a challenge. All of the top pilots have been testing on this track, they know each metre. So that gives you an idea of what Most is all about, and it also gives you an idea of the size of the crowds that the circuit regularly receives, come rain or shine. Very enthusiastic fans, and again, underlying, and you've seen it perhaps at other events, especially Most, but also the Nürburgring, the family-orientated environment that track racing has always catered for, of course, for fans old and young, not just in terms of the action, but what goes on in the paddock, in the fan village, which has really been championed over the last few years by ETRC, the current promoter of the European Truck Racing Championship. Podium ceremonies aren't on a podium in the pit lane for truck racing, where only the privileged photographers can get to them. They are in the heart of the paddock. The podium is in that fan village where everybody can come and cheer their heroes and get soaked by the champagne, for example. That's where the driver autograph sessions are. There are always loads of giveaways, posters, stickers to collect, and of course also the merchandising units that the teams and the manufacturers have as well. It's not just truck racing, of course. There are always displays and parades and often support races for cars, or as we see in Germany, motorbikes. But for the purposes of the Digital Championship, 2 races, and we're going to focus on the top European truck racers. They are being asked now to join the server. So in a few minutes' time, we will be in business. And is anybody going to be able to stop Norbert Kish in an opening race? In other words, a race based on a grid from Superpole, because that, of course, is based on your best time. What's going to be interesting is to see where, with the loss of his best lap time, Theo Calve is going to end up on this grid, and exactly how much work he has got to put in. Now, Norbert Kish, in theory, should be away and gone through that first chicane, but you've got to keep out of trouble. If anyone gets into the back of him, then it could certainly jeopardise his race. Those drivers who are in the body of the field, likewise, are going to find themselves having to keep out of trouble. And if that means they are delayed, well, the people ahead could be away and gone. We've had lots of drama already over the course of the FIA ETRC Digital, and if you follow the action, you'll know the drivers, when they talk to me after races, have all said about the need to keep out of trouble, especially in the reverse grid races, to bide your time. It could well be that we get some damage this evening, but it really is going to be fascinating to see who comes out of that first chicane ahead, who comes out with potentially any damage, and how that's going to affect the rest of the race. So the drivers are now starting to log on that grid, headed by Norbert Kish, lining up on pole position, Sascha Lentz to line up alongside. And is this going to be a race that Sascha can win? Well, if he can, he's certainly got the pace. He's got to get ahead on the run down towards the first corner and somehow be able to move himself across the front of Norbert Kish. It's a rolling start, of course. They'll have had a lap behind the pace truck, so it's not like a standing start Formula One style staggered grid. You are alongside your rival on that row of the grid. So Sascha Lentz needs to be on his toes, but of course it's going to be into a right-hander as the first corner. And that means the advantage, the benefit of that pole position certainly taken by Norbert Kish. The Most circuit is not the most undulating, but it is one of the most twisty. 21 corners on its 4-kilometre long lap. We've been looking at fastest lap times of just over 2 minutes within the qualifying session, and so within 25 minutes plus a lap, 2-minute lap, is going to be around about 13 laps, 14 laps at most when we get to the race itself. Norbert Kish starting on pole position yet again. Sascha Lentz to line up alongside, and then third fastest from that qualifying session is Lukas Hahn. Now, Lukas was competitive at the Nürburgring, but did drop away just ever so slightly as the race wore on. Maybe that's down to experience, but I think Lukas Hahn is going to be well worth keeping an eye on this evening, especially now we can start scoring points. Admittedly only 50%, but if he's up near the front, he's still going to be scoring reasonably well. It won't be a championship campaign, but interestingly, could of course start taking points away from others. Down in the pit lane, the Ford F-Max is getting ready for its lap around the circuit. That, in turn, will be a prelude to the pace lap, and that, in turn, is a prelude to getting race 1 here at Most underway. So as the Ford F-Max gets itself ready to do its lap of this 4.2-kilometre circuit, let's go trackside and get ready for racing here in the FIA ETRC Digital.
The show is on. Start your engines. FIA ETRC is ready to race.
So the Ford F-Max, the official truck of the FIA ETRC, makes its way down the pit lane. There is the pace truck ready to go, the Mercedes Actros, and behind you'll see Norbert Kish lining up on pole position. It is Sascha Lentz who is alongside. The second row, you see Lucas Hahn and then Jonathan Andre lining up alongside. Now this is how we are in the championship. Norbert Kish, the championship leader, from Sascha Lentz, Teo Calve third, Antonio Albacete fourth. He's absent this evening, as is fellow Iberian Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. Jamie Anderson sixth, with an opportunity to gain ground in the standings. The absent Anthony Janiette next, ahead of Adam Lachko. Then Lucas Hahn and Alia Koloc comes next. Alia is another driver that we are missing, sadly, this evening, but it would be good to see her back on track in a few weeks' time. Now remember that the likes of Jonathan Andre and Bjorn Teichhaus will score points retrospectively from here on in. The same will be true for one or two other drivers if they drop into the championship. But as the grid is good to go, the reason that the points for the guests haven't been allocated yet is that the decision was made during the week and the drivers were told only tonight at the drivers' briefing. So therefore now the drivers are all aware of that within the regulations, so from here on in we can start to update those standings accordingly. So there is the grid ready to go, and the pace truck will be away shortly. Norbert Kish then in the MAN, starting on pole position. The 30-second signal just given to the drivers on TeamSpeak. The timing system is now readied, and we will be good to go very shortly. As you look down onto the grid, the third row, you can see on the outside line, number 15 of Bjorn Teichhaus, just ahead of Shane Brereton, and then it's Frans Smit at the very back. And as the trucks head away, on the inside of that third row, you've got Teo Calve, then Jamie Anderson, and there a long way back is Adam Lachko. So the formation lap is underway. Remember, this counts within the 25 minutes, but then they get the regulation lap tagged on at the end to balance everything out. Norbert Kish, you've got to say, starts very much as the favourite in this race. What progress can Teo Calve, though, make, I wonder, after the disappointment of losing a best lap time? Part of the fight here is to get past Jonathan Andre as his fellow French driver on the grid. The trucks now, having worked their way out of the first sequence of corners, make the run down the hill and on towards the next of the S's, really. 5, 6 and 7 is the next sequence of corners through which they will have to breathe in, wriggle their way through. This is it, and they're the pace truck leading Kish and Lentz towards us. Now, what about Lucas Hahn? Is he going to be able to split that front row on the way down to the first corner? If he can, he's got a real chance of getting not only a good result, but maybe even going after Norbert Kish here. Norbert has been saying to us after each of his victories about how much closer the opposition is getting, how much harder he's having to work. He's very much the benchmark driver, of course, but he is mindful that the rest becoming more competitive each time out. So 10 trucks we have this evening. The graphic for the moment including the pace truck, because this is a notional racing lap as the pace truck comes then down towards us. Look back, you see the familiar front row in a sense actually of Norbert Kish and Sascha Lentz. Sascha from good truck racing stock, the same true of Theo Calvé behind. So as the field now works its way around the back part of the circuit under blue skies, one or two puffy clouds, but a far cry from the weather conditions that really stopped racing in its tracks last year here in the real World Championship. The front row then of Kish and Lentz ready to be unleashed. The two MANs, second row of the grid, you've got the Iveco in the hands of Lucas Hahn, another of the MANs in the hands of Jonathan Andre, and then the first of the two we have tonight, not three, bonneted Freightliners, that of Theo Calvé, lining up alongside the venerable Scania in the hands of Bjorn Teichhaus. This is Irving Klein Nagelvort's truck. Then you've got the MAN of Jamie Anderson, the MAN of the other Brit on the grid, that being Shane Britton. And then at the rear, just coming into shot there, look, Adam Lachko and another MAN alongside that Freightliner in the hands of Fran Smith. So out of turn 20, little bit of a straight before turn 21, but in a sense, it's really one long right-hander. The pace truck goes for the pit lane, and we are ready then for this 9th race within the championship. The field accelerating now up towards the timing line to get race 1 of the 2 here at Most underway then. Is it going to be Norbert Kish to steal a march on the opposition? Let's find out then as we are about to go racing up towards the line. They will come. The signal will be given on TeamSpeak now to go green to the drivers straight away. Teichhaus moves to the outside line. To the inside goes Calvé. Lucas Hahn is going to try and force his way up the inside there. Look of Sascha Lentz. They go down towards the first corner. It is Norbert Kish who leads the way. Hahn gets into the back of him. Norbert Kish is going to go wide. Is he going to go deep? He's going to go off. That's what he's going to do because he got a tap in the tail from Hahn. So Norbert Kish now goes across the gravel. Jonathan Andre's been turned sideways, and so has Calvé. Calvé comes a real cropper out of all of that. So Norbert Kish leads the way. Lucas Hahn is on his tail, and the mayhem that was predicted has taken, I'm afraid, Theo Calvé down the order as Andre there, and Sascha Lentz run absolutely side by side on the way through turn 4 up towards 5 now. It is Kish ahead, but you can see that a really towy, really feisty Lucas Hahn wants that place away. Lentz runs third, but only just. Fourth is Andre as they go down towards turn 10 now. That's the hairpin at the end of the lap, the far tip of it, and then it's back towards the timing area. So out wide goes Lentz, out into the gravel goes Smith. There's the recovering Lachko after a bad qualifying, but I'm worried about, in all of this, Theo Calvé, because he's dropped a huge amount of ground to everybody else. Now, the field accelerating up towards the mid part of the lap here, on board with Jonathan Andre. And through they will come with, right now, Norbert Kish leading the way. The start is under investigation, race control tells us, but Norbert Kish leads at the moment from in second place. Lucas Hahn. Lucas is losing a little bit of ground. You could see how eager he was at the start. The first corner is under investigation. Is that contact? You could argue that as far as the Hahn-Kish situation was concerned, nothing really changed, because although Norbert Kish did cut the corner, he lifted, and so he didn't gain out of all of that. He kept the lead he already had. Lucas Hahn was right on his tail when they came out of the corner, but now they're heading up towards the end of this opening lap of the race. Through they come then, and with one lap on the board, the leader is Norbert Kish by 1 second from Lucas Hahn as they go across the line now. Third is Lentz. Fourth, you're riding with him, Jonathan Andre. And then down towards turn 1, there is Andre in 4th place. Next up should be Bjorn Teichhaus. It is. Adam Lachko is in 6th place. But Lachko is a long way clear in turn of Jamie Anderson. So the race leaders go by. The start under investigation. Turn 1 is under investigation. And there you can see Sascha Lentz trying to fend off now the yellow MAN in the hands of Jonathan Andre, but there also Bjorn Teichhaus is staying with them. Now, That's almost in the historic class, that Scania, but he's doing a good job. Bjorn Teichhaus, arguably better in the virtual world than the real world in terms of race results, but not to decry his efforts, he's doing a really good job here, is Bjorn. He's keeping Adam Lachko at bay. 7th, behind Lachko is Anderson. Calvé is 8th, Shane Britton is 9th, and then it's Franz Schmidt rounding out the top 10. There's Norbert Kish coming up towards us now. So he's getting away from Lucas Hahn, no question about that. And that gap widening all the time. Now I just wonder whether Hahn is in danger of dropping back into the clutches of the 3rd, 4th battle. At the moment, the answer is no, but certainly the gap between the top 2 is widening all the time. There they are. This comes into turn 20. You see Lucas Hahn accelerate his way through that corner, just straighten out, and then he hit the brakes once more. The nose of Norbert Kish's rig dips then as he goes into the right-hander, powering his way up towards the timing line once again. There's the fight for 3rd. Over the line they go. And Andre is getting closer all the while now, look to Lentz, so let's see what can happen here. Through they turn, nose to tail into the braking zone for the first chicane. And there, Sascha Lentz accelerates towards us. For my money, that gap is coming down between 2nd and 3rd. It's 1.3 seconds between them. Keep an eye to that then now as the field accelerate once more through the infield, the twisty section of the circuit here. There is Andre closing up onto the back of the Sascha Lentz MAN. Gap widens a little bit in a straight line, but is that going to improve? Let's now see. Sascha Lentz trying to get away. Coming towards us as one almost, as Andre once more tries to close up under braking. So Norbert Kish, race leader. Lucas Hahn 2.3 seconds back, and then in 3rd, Sascha Lentz. And what we're seeing over the lap is, as predicted, the gap 2nd to 3rd is coming down. Through they come. Lentz trying to shake off Jonathan Andre. Now, what about Andre being caught by Teichhaus? That's the next one to look for, I suspect. Towards the timing line go the race leaders. And under braking, you see how Jonathan Andre is closing right up there. So Kish leading away, 2.7 seconds clear of Hahn. He's pulling clear all the while. How's Adam Lachko getting on in the meantime? He's in 6th place, still trying to close on to the back of Bjorn Teichhaus. This is Lachko's view. Brakes hard, threads his way now through the 5, 6, 7 sequence. Back onto the power. The next little S through 8 and 9, and then here, this hairpin is the tip of the circuit really, turn 10. So as the trucks wriggle their way out of the turn 11, 12 section, speed building all the while now. Slight rise, heading up towards turn 13 under the Goodyear Bridge. No further action from the start, incidentally. Confirmation. So all good there, despite the fun and games at the first corner. And I suspect that Teo Calvé is not going to be overly impressed, because down at the moment in 8th place, that's bad news for points. However, of course, it is quite good news for the reverse grid race, because he's at the moment set for pole position. So let's see whether ultimately that's going to be where he starts, and indeed can he score another victory thanks to a bad first race. So Norbert Kish has just gone across the timing line. This is Adam Lachko's view as he's hustling on behind Bjorn Teichhaus. But actually, as he goes down towards the chicane, look at the first corner, Lachko is being reeled in now by Jamie Anderson and then also Teo Calvé. So the battle is on. And a bad exit there from Lachko means Anderson gets the drop on him. Jamie Anderson goes up into 6th place, and Lachko is about to get mugged by his teammate. Here comes Teo Calvé around the outside. That gives him the inside line here. Look, going down towards turns 5 and 6. And Teo Calvé goes round the outside of Adam Lachko, gets the job done. So that's going to give Lachko pole provisionally for race 2, because he's now been elbowed back into 8th place. And Adam Lachko there has a disconnect, but in real terms, that's where he is, going out of the corner. So Lachko accelerates his way through the hairpin out of turn 10 and gets onto the back of Calvé once again. He's still challenging here. But Jamie Anderson, having got away, is pulling clear as best he can. Now there is Lucas Hahn. He's still running 2nd, but has dropped a long way away now from Norbert Kish, to the point whereby the rest are right there with him. Lentz and Andre chasing hard. Hard on the brakes. Lucas Hahn comes down towards turn 20. Sasha Lentz right on his tail, taking Jonathan Andre with him. The 3 of them as one, but all the while, of course, so Norbert Kish has been able to build that gap. Nose to tail they were at the start, but a little bit like we saw at the Nürburgring, Lucas not able to maintain the pace all the way through the race. And as it goes on, the experience of the others just seems to tell a little bit more in this virtual digital championship. Over the line goes Hahn then. The gap's 2.7 seconds now, as you see, to Norbert Kish. In 3rd place still, it is Lentz, and Sasha Lentz much later on the brakes, and therefore also carrying a bit more speed into the chicane. Tries to get himself into a position to challenge now on the run up towards turn 4. Lucas Hahn being given a warning for pushing another competitor. That must have been Kish at the very start. And the 3 of them together here accelerate towards us. So through they turn. Looking back here from Lucas Hahn's truck. He's had that warning for pushing, and he's doing a very good job indeed right now of hanging on to 2nd place against more experienced real world and indeed more experienced digital championship drivers. So can Hahn, with 10 minutes and a lap to go, hang on to 2nd place? He's certainly in jeopardy, but while he's defending, so Norbert Kish is doing his best to get away here. Ride the curve, you can see the effort being put in, clipping the curbs, the rig's getting all sideways. And now under the grammar gantry comes the race leader Norbert Kish. He'll brake hard, set the rig up for this next section of the circuit. It's a lap that rewards the drivers. You put a lot of effort in. And out of turn 20 they come now, heading up towards the end of the lap, towards the timing line they will come. Number 25 also being given a warning for pushing another truck directly in the first corner of the first lap. 25 is Clemens Hecker's truck, Franz Schmidt at the wheel of it. So Franz Schmidt being given that warning as the leaders go by. And now Norbert Kish, 2.7 seconds clear. Deep into the first corner goes Hahn. Sasha Lentz, if he gets the undercut here, a tight line out of turn 2, should be able to have a go, but he wasn't able to get the Team Löwenpower entry up the inside line there. So the Iveco fends off the MAN. Jonathan Andre still in touch, of course, in that 4th place as they come towards us. the investigation of the opening corner on that first lap. No more action other than just these warnings for pushing. Sacha Lentz, as you saw in the background there, getting a bit crossed up. That brings Jonathan Andre onto his tail as they dive down now through turn 10. Again, Lentz closes up under braking, but because he brakes so late, the truck then pushes out wide, a bit of understeer. So Lucas Hahn hangs on to his second place. Norbert Kisch, though, away and gone, looking for win number 8 here. Up the curb goes Sacha Lentz, trying to get back onto terms with Lucas Hahn, but at the same time, of course, trying to keep Jonathan Andre at bay. And again, look, desperately late on the brakes there is Sacha Lentz. Does it do him any good? Well, it gets him a little bit nearer, but then it washes out because he's having to control all of that speed. So Lucas Hahn, being a bit smoother at the moment, hangs on to second place. He rides the curb, as does Andre in 4th spot in the yellow MAN. Norbert Kisch brakes hard for turn 20 under the Grammar gantry there. And now sprints his way up towards the completion of the lap. As he does so, this will put 8 in the book. There is Sacha Lentz going through behind in that 3rd place. To the eye, it tricks you a little bit, this, because on certain corners it looks like Lucas Hahn is a lot closer to Norbert Kisch, but actually the gap's got up to 2.9 seconds. So Norby has everything under control, goes over the timing line, looking good for an 8th win out of 9 races. There is Shane Brereton running in 9th place, so he's the first of the 2 drivers to not benefit from the reverse grid, if you like. He's a long way back from Adam Lachko. He's also a long way clear of Fran Smith. Shane Brereton, who was a reverse grid race winner here, going back, 3 seasons, runs a little bit deep into turn 20. And the former saloon stock car and national hot rod racer up now through the turn 21 right-hander. There's the other driver in the race, Fran Smith, still adapting to sim racing. It's good that he's joined us for the races this evening, Fran Smith, and it's good to have more drivers coming into the championship as we go through the season. It's good that we're not losing trucks. We might have a change of driver, but we're not losing trucks. There is Fran Smith in the Clements Hecker entry. A real privateer effort, this, in real world racing. Here's the fight for second place, though. There is Hahn ahead of Lentz, ahead of Andre. Still, Lucas Hahn is looking the stronger of the 3, but only just. Norbert Kisch now 3 seconds to the good at that last timing point. He comes over the brow and sets it up for the next corner. Through 15, 16, wriggling their way back towards the start and finish area. Lucas Hahn presses on. Sacha Lentz, of course, if he finishes 3rd, will be a row ahead of Norbert Kisch going into the reverse grid race. A front row with Adam Lachko and Theo Calve on it for the reverse grid race at the moment. That's going to be quite interesting as well. We've got 5.5 minutes plus a lap here. The new Iveco. It's a truck new for Lucas Hahn for this year. And he comes up towards us then, looking strong in second place here. Past the race control building on the right-hand side. Through they go. And now the run down into turn 1 as you ride with Jonathan Andre. He is dropping back ever so slightly from Sacha Lentz, but closes up under braking. And again, Lucas Hahn not quite as strong under braking going into turn 1 as Lentz is. This battle, half a second between the 2 for second place, is still up for grabs. Norbert Kisch leads the way. He's 3 seconds clear now, looking good for yet another win. Throw a blanket over 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and you've got them all together. Now there is Theo Calve, and he's about to have a go at Jamie Anderson, who made a mistake and got all sideways. Past him goes Calve, place gained. Goes up into 6th place, puts himself a row further back on the reverse grid race, but also gains more points, of course, for what he's just achieved. So another position is good for him. Could he get Bjorn Tiehaus before the very end? Let's see. Theo rides the curbs. Going up through turn 8 here, down to 10. Hard on the brakes, turns into that corner, and that in turn will loop him around, ready to power up towards the end of the lap. Number 30 being given a warning now for pushing. That's Lentz. So Sacha Lentz gets a driving standards flag, effectively a warning over the TeamSpeak system from race control, where Rolf Werner and Janine Meyer are studying all the pictures, all the data, and of course also have to deal with any protests from the teams post-race. So through comes then now Theo Calvé. Now what can he do in terms of getting on the back of Bjorn Teichhaus? You see the gap and how it's fluctuating all the time. So now he's on the power. Is it going to come down and come down progressively? He's made short work of Jamie Anderson, caught and passed and pulled away from Jamie. Let's see what he can do as he comes down towards turn 20 now. Round the back of the paddock, stand on the brakes. The French driver, but of course on the home circuit for the team, because the Bagheera Racing Squad is a Czech team. And here he is now, over the curb, straightens it out, onto the power, up towards the line. Actually, Jamie Anderson is there, staying with him as best he can. They break the beam now, and the gap between the two of them was round about the half a second mark when they had been out on track. And we'll see what it is now. It's still half a second in fairness. Now this is the second, third, fourth battle. It is Hahn ahead of Lentz, still ahead of Andre. So there's no change in the order, surprisingly, but not for the want of trying on the part of Sascha Lentz, who's trying to attack, trying to defend all at the same time here. Out wide goes Hahn, but not wide enough to enable the truck drive liveried rig of Sascha Lentz to dive up the inside there. A warning for track limits now, going the way of 23, which is Jamie Anderson. I suspect that's when he ran out wide and got all sideways and lost his place to Theo Calvé. But Norbert Kish, being caught a little on this lap by Lucas Hahn, still has it all under control. He's got 2 more laps to do, I would offer you. So he'll squeeze 1 more lap, the next one, within the time, and then there'll be the regulation lap at the end of that. So this and 2 more. Lentz, you're riding with now, is still there in 3rd place. Fastest lap of the race, Norbert Kish. 2 minutes 1.854 in this opening race here at Most. Hard on the brakes is Lentz, closing up onto the tail there of the newcomer, Lucas Hahn, ahead of him, young gun, yet to do a full season of truck racing. Made his race debut at the ADAC Truck Grand Prix, perhaps sensibly in the Mittelrhein Cup races, away from the full glare of the European action, and also, of course, without having his father on track to worry about as well. They'll split their efforts across 2 trucks in the same championship, and finding a rig for Lucas to race in that combination of the Dutch, German and British championship racers. Down he comes, hard on the brakes, into the right, left, and gets it all wrong there. Is that Sascha Lentz's opportunity at turn 2? Not quite. Hahn just able to regroup in time. That's where Lucas seems to lose the time, almost lose places, isn't it? Because yet again there, he was very close to being mugged by Sascha Lentz. Through they come now. So Kish leading the way, gap hovering around this 2.8 second mark yet again. Sascha Lentz trying everything. The clock will hit 0 on this lap, so there's 1 more lap at the end of this still to go. Through goes Lentz, sideways up the curb. He's shaken off Jonathan Andre. In turn, Bjorn Teichhaus is being caught a little by Theo Calvé, but not enough for that to be a realistic place change by the end of the race. What's also been very gratifying, and I'm sure race control would agree with this, is how few penalties we've had. Might have had a bit of finger wagging for contact, but no penalties for jumping the start or poor driving in this race thus far. Hahn, Lentz, and then behind in 4th, Andre, but Norbert Kish clear of all of them now. And increasingly clear as well. Nearly 3 seconds the margin once more as he powers downhill. MAN, Iveco, MAN, MAN in the top 4. A very lonely 5th is Bjorn Teichhaus, but he's doing a very good job in Irving Klein-Nagelvort's venerable Scania. Truck racing has certainly changed in terms of the technology within the rig and also the brands that have dominated the sport over the years. Go back to the very early days, Leyland Road Trains and ERFs aplenty had great success. Then the bonneted Volvo White Road Boss and the NL12 Volvo came along. Then Mercedes when we went into race trucks and super trucks era. And right now, MANs have been the trucks to have, but on the last lap, the Iveco doing a good job in the hands of Lucas Hahn. He's hanging on to second place, but it's all going to hinge, I think, on the next right and left. If he gets this wrong, he's going to be in real jeopardy. And again, look, he just goes a little bit deeper in than does Lentz. But because it's a narrow section there, it's a switchback, sharp right, sharp left. Lentz isn't able to find a gap, prise open a door. Tiehouse to Calvé. That gap not really coming down particularly. 7.5 seconds with under a lap to go. Norby Kish then on target for the 8th win, I should say, of the season. 7 on the bounce, a break of 1, and now he's back on his winning ways. Lucas Hahn has done a ripper job of hanging on to second place, but for how much longer? Lentz almost up the inside there. Again, the door was ajar. Sascha Lentz thought about it, committed to the line, but Lucas Hahn was just able to defend, just get the power down in time. The blue and white colours of the Hahn Racing team, carried so successfully by his father for his multiple European titles, over the brow will go Lucas Hahn now. There behind is Sascha Lentz, who is running out of options. Jonathan Andre, oh so close. He only really buys back the time, though, when Hahn gets delayed having to defend. And look, because they've squabbled on this last lap, 4 seconds now is the Norbert Kish margin over everybody else. Through they come together once more. Norbert Kish, though, brakes hard for turn 20. He is on his way up towards the timing line. He is on his way to an 8th victory of the season. Norbert Kish, then, is going to make it 8 wins out of 9 races in the FIA ETRC Digital. Checkered flag at the ready. Norbert Kish wins at Mosh as he comes across the line. Norbert Kish dominates the opening race of the day. Another cracking drive by Norbert Kish. Who is going to be second? It is Lucas Hahn, and for 3rd place, Sascha Lentz, then. Behind them, 4th should go. It does go the way of Jonathan Andre. And in 5th place, Bjorn Tiehouse should be next. Over the line goes Tiehouse. Theo Calvé then will be 6th. There's Tiehouse. There's Calvé in the background. Jamie Anderson is going to be 7th. And 8th place, Adam Lachko in the number 55 Freightliner. There he is, Adam Lachko ahead of Shane Brereton and then Frans Smit. That's going to give Adam Lachko pole position going into the 2nd race of the evening. Protest time has started, so they've got 10 minutes to put a protest in. As you see Shane Brereton there coming up towards the completion of the race, well clear of Frans Smit. The grid for race 2 effectively now is known, and whoops, on his last lap Frans Smit gets it all wrong there coming out of turn 19. Dear, oh dear, oh dear, Frans. He was a distant 10th anyway, but now he's got to try and turn it around and get back in the right direction. That he will do, but time lost as a consequence. So there is Shane Brereton going through. Behind Shane, it will be a somewhat delayed now, Frans Smit. He's off again at turn 20. Frans has run wide through the gravel, but will come up towards the timing line now in a straight line. So Norbert Kish has done it again. Bravo, Norbert. Win number 8 of the season. We'll try and bring some of the drivers into the streaming rooms before we have a short break and get ready for the 2nd of our 25-minute races. Race 2 will have the formation lap starting on the hour, so 30 minutes time for our 2nd race. Horns are blaring as Jonathan Andre heads back towards the pit lane. And Norbert Kish, welcome back to the top step of the podium, Norbert. Well done. An 8th win, brilliant drive, well done.
Thank you very much, thank you.
How easy was that race?
It was a little bit tricky at the start, you know, because I got a push from behind, so I had to go in the gravel trap and cut the chicane. And I have to say the gravel is really deep, and it really keeps the track. It's really hard to get out of it. But I was lucky because I could get out in time to go back to the 1st position. I think I had the right to keep the 1st position there. And that I just tried to calm down, and do my pace and try to build a little bit of a gap. So yeah, it was a good race from then on because I haven't made any mistakes, so it was all fine.
So now the reverse grid race, you've got to do it from 8th. Teo, who was the reverse grid winner last time out, is going to be starting from 6th. Perhaps that gives him the advantage, but you've said to me before, you've got to keep out of trouble through the first couple of corners. Then you have a chance.
Yeah. It's getting harder and harder, and I already got into some trouble in the Nürburgring in the reverse grid race as well. It was really hard to come up, and you can see the guys improving, and they are driving better and better, and they don't make that much mistake like in the beginning of the season, which made it sometimes easy to overtake them, if you made a mistake. But like in the Nürburgring, Tao was going really fast. He didn't make any mistakes, so that was just not possible for me to overtake. So it's the same. I have to try and stay out of trouble at the start and in the first chicane, because it's really tight in the first chicane. It's really difficult with these trucks, and then see where we end up after the first lap, and try to make some overtakes from there.
What you say about the drivers getting better with more experience is true, but then you've got guys like young Lucas Hahn arrives in the championship, first time out at the Nürburgring, bang on the pace, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was really fast right away, but yeah, I guess it's in the family.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he was really strong already in the Nürburgring. So, and just now as well with his second place, it's a really good performance.
Indeed. Norbert, well done. 8th win out of 9 races. Fantastic. Good luck for race 2.
Thank you very much.
So our thanks to Norbert Kish. There you see him at the wheel of his sim. Let's see if we can talk in a moment to Lucas Hahn. But there is our podium. Norbert Kish, the race winner. Lucas Hahn, 2nd. And Sascha Lentz taking 3rd place. Right, Lucas has joined us within the English streaming room. Lucas, well done on 2nd place. A tough race for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. It's not so easy in a simulator to drive, but we finish very good. Yeah.
Finished very good, and all the time Sascha was behind you, pushing. So really tough fight.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Sascha also is a fast driver.
Indeed. Well done, Lucas, on 2nd place. Good luck for race 2.
Thank you.
So Lucas Hahn, who, as we've been saying, comes from a great racing family. Grandfather Conny Hahn, a champion. His father Jochen Hahn, multiple European champion. And it's going to be interesting to see how the real-world European Championship shapes up this year. We're getting closer, of course, to the start of that. Now we're getting to this crossover point where real-world racing starts, overlaps with the end of digital championships, virtual championships, and then we'll, of course, be into the real-world FIA ETRC. And it's going to be interesting to see how that mirrors, if at all, what we've had in this digital championship over the last excellent few weeks. This championship, don't forget, brought together under very challenging circumstances. There was never intended to be a digital series, but it's kept teams and sponsors happy over these weeks, and we've had some great racing. It really is a credit to everybody involved in pulling it together. A huge amount of work has gone into it, and expense as well, of course, to make it all happen. And bravo to the FIA ETRC team and everybody involved in it. So Norbert Kish, we've spoken to as our race winner. Sascha Lentz, the 3rd place driver. Lucas Hahn taking 2nd. Sascha Lentz has joined us in the streaming room, and we'll try and translate as we go. Sascha, well done on 3rd. A really big fight with Lucas. You tried everything to get past him.
Yeah, it was a nice race, but the start was not so nice for me. I lose directly my place, and yeah, I become a penalty for a small contact, and I become on my back every time contacts, and the guys become no Verwarnung, become nothing, and other guys cutting the circuit and become nothing, and I become for one small mistake directly a warning, and yeah, but the race was nice. Lucas make a good job, but yeah, that's life.
Now you have the reverse grid, so sometimes more action, and the first corner is going to be very important again.
Yeah, it's really important, first chicane. I hope I have no crash. My truck is not damaged, and we see on the last lap who we stand now.
Okay. Sasha, good luck for race 2. Well done on 3rd place in race 1.
Thanks.
So Sasha Lentz joining us in the English stream and joining us in English this evening. Some weeks it's a German translation, but Sasha happy to talk to us in English tonight, which is good. Thanks very much for that, Sasha. So we've heard from our top 3 drivers. There you can see the podium, and a reminder as we are at about 25 minutes, give or take, to the hour, that the race itself will start on the hour. So we'll be back at the Most circuit a few minutes in advance of that, ready for race 2 of the evening. Of course, as ever, before the start, we'll have the pace lap, we'll have the Ford F-Max lap as well. Norbert Kish will start 8th on the grid for race 2, pole position to home hero Adam Lachko. We'll see what pans out in what promises to be another action-packed 25 minutes plus 1 lap of FIA ETRC digital action. Don't go far, because race 2 you will not want to miss. But here we will have a short break. Join us for action in a few minutes' time. Bye for now.
At Goodyear, we understand the challenges of business. Your fleet is out on the road working hard, and you need tyres you can rely on. Tyres that are more innovative, more advanced, more versatile, and most importantly, better for business. Introducing the new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range. K-Max Gen 2. Superb mileage, optimal fuel efficiency, and better all-weather capability. Excellent mileage levels, significantly improved traction throughout the tyre life. And FuelMax Gen 2. Exceptional fuel efficiency, increased mileage, and better all-weather capability. Excellent fuel efficiency, significantly improved all-weather capability. Gen 2. More innovative, more advanced, better for business. Welcome to the next generation. The new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range from Goodyear.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
Our mission is to move your freight, thereby making our contribution to your profitability, so that your cargo arrives quickly, safely, and efficiently. Today, tomorrow, always.
At Goodyear, we understand the challenges of business. Your fleet is out on the road working hard, and you need tires you can rely on. Tires that are more innovative, more advanced, more versatile, and most importantly, better for business. Introducing the new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range. K-Max Gen 2. Superb mileage, optimal fuel efficiency, and better all-weather capability. Excellent mileage levels, significantly improved traction throughout the tire life. And FuelMax Gen 2. Exceptional fuel efficiency, increased mileage, and better all-weather capability. Excellent fuel efficiency, significantly improved all-weather capability. Gen 2. More innovative, more advanced, better for business. Welcome to the next generation. The new K-Max and FuelMax Gen 2 range from Goodyear.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
Our mission is to move your freight, thereby making our contribution to your profitability, so that your cargo arrives quickly, safely, and efficiently. Today, tomorrow, always.
Welcome back to the FIA ETRC Digital. We are at Mosh this evening and we're getting ready for the second race. This is David Addison and the grid, of course, based on the results of race 1 with the top 8 reversed. And that means that pole position is going to be claimed by the local hero, Adam Lachko, the Czech driver, a European champion, but somebody that's not really yet adapted as well as others to virtual truck racing. He will have Jamie Anderson alongside him, the British driver. The second row of the grid is where you find Adam Lachko's teammate, Theo Calvé, the young French driver who has been the only person so far in the championships, now 9 races, to beat Norbert Kish, and that was in the equivalent race last time out at the Nürburgring. In other words, in race 2, the race with this semi-reverse grid. So Theo Calvé on row 2, Norbert Kish, who's just won yet again, win number 8 of the season. He'll start on row 4. Can Theo Calvé hit the front and start to build a gap while Norbert Kish is getting through the traffic? That was the scenario we had at the Nürburgring last time out. Could be the situation that we have once more here. Now, that opening race was a runaway win for Norbert Kish. Great battle going on behind between Lucas Hahn, Sascha Lentz and Jonathan Andre. Lucas Hahn, just to clarify a point, does score points. Even though he's a late entry into the digital championship, he has registered for the entire real world ETRC, and therefore that allows him to come into this, albeit later, and still claim points. Whereas the guest drivers like Jonathan Andre, like Bjorn Teichhaus, and for today, Franz Schmidt, they will take points, but only 50% of the points available for your position. So that means Hahn does score. Let's have a look at where we're up to in terms of the championship positions. Norbert Kish keeps on scoring and scoring well. So the championship leader now building the advantage, and now that Jochen Hahn has arrived on the scene and is taking points away from others, so that margin is widening to 55 points between Kish and Sascha Lentz, who was only 3rd in the opening race. Theo Calvé is 3rd in the standings. 4th is the absent Antonio Albacete, and up to 5th comes Jamie Anderson, ahead of the absent Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. Anthony Janiak is about to be overhauled, I suspect, by Adam Lachko, and you've got Lucas Hahn scoring points as well with Alia Koloch there as well. So that's how the championship is looking, and retrospectively, the guest drivers will be given 50% of their points tally for the races they've done and the races going forward for the remainder of the series as well. Lucas Hahn, then, a man to watch going into this second race. Father Jochen, 6 times a European champion. Norbert Kish is a double European truck racing champion, and he is the man starting 8th on the grid with Hahn for company. Sascha Lentz, a row further up the grid, still looking for that maiden victory with 4 second places to his name. Sascha, the perennial bridesmaid, it seems, in FIA ETRC Digital. We're into the second half of the year as well, because after Most, we've got just 3 more events, Zolder, Le Mans and Jarama, as real-world racing starts to overlap with digital competition. And it's going to be interesting to see, of course, when real truck racing starts, how similar a championship it's going to be to what we've had in these last few months. So, won't be long before the grid starts to form. The drivers now being asked to join the race server. Adam Lachko for pole position, 8th in race 1. The best that he's achieved this year, a couple of 6th places. Alongside will be Jamie Anderson. The best that Jamie has had this year is a 5th position with the Anderson Commercials MAN. The second row of the grid, Theo Calvé. Well, we've talked much about him defeating Norbert Kish, the French driver, a French kiss maybe, at the Nürburgring reverse grid race last time out. But Theo Calvé, again, could be one of the favourites here. Starts on the second row. He's been a winner, the only other winner other than Norbert Kish this year. Can he score win number 2 of the season? Alongside him, as we go trackside, is Bjorn Teichhaus, there number 15 in the Scania of Haulier Irving Klein Nagelvort. On the third row, and Bjorn Teichhaus, just to make the points, had a 5th place as his best of the year. Jonathan Andre in the yellow MAN of the Lahn truck racing team. He is next on the grid, and he is set for 25 minutes plus a lap with Sascha Lentz alongside him. Jonathan Andre has had a 2nd place and 4 second places as the best results thus far for Sascha Lentz. Lucas Hahn on the next row of the grid, number 22 in the Iveco. He, of course, 2nd as his best in the opener here this evening. And then you've got Norbert Kish, 8 wins out of 9 races. And, of course, the race he didn't win, he was 2nd in anyway, so it's been an amazing strike rate. Shane Brereton starts 9th on the grid. best that Shane has had is an 8th. And then Franz Schmidt rounds out the grid, and indeed this is Franz's first evening of racing within FIA ETRC Digital. So the 10th he got in the opener is, of course, the best result that he's achieved thus far. So that then is how everybody lines up, ready to go for our second race. The Most circuit lost day 2 of its action last year in the real world because of torrential rain, and the officials headed by the FIA's race director Tony Eden had a look at the state of the track and the standing water. The drivers were consulted as well and said just too wet to go racing. But thankfully, in the digital world, all is good. The road is dry, the sun is shining, and we are ready for business here at Most. So the trucks are on the grid. That means the drivers have joined the race server. The Mercedes pace truck, the Mercedes Actros, is at the front of the grid. But before they all leave the line and get into battle, there is one more lap we need to concentrate on. It is the Ford F-Max lap, the official truck of the FIA ETRC.
The show is on. Start your engines. FIA ETRC is ready to race.
So we've had the 1 minute board given by race control, and the drivers via TeamSpeak have the audio alert. Now they're told 30 seconds. So the pace truck very shortly will set off behind the race rigs will go. And then at the end of that lap, the pace truck will peel in. We will get set to go racing. The clock starts, of course, to include the pace lap, but then we've started to, from the second event onward, add on a regulation lap. So you lose a racing lap within the 25 minutes, but you have that put back on at the end. So the lights will go out in a moment. That's the indication that the formation lap starts. The Mercedes Actros blasts away. Adam Lachko versus Theo Calve. It's got to be for the lead for the first corner. Now, is Adam going to make life easy for his teammate, or is Theo going to have to really fight a way through? It's going to be fascinating, actually, because clearly Theo has been the quicker of the two thus far this year. Adam Lachko, though, even though this is a virtual Czech Republic, would like to win in it on home soil. Jamie Anderson there in the cab over MAN against the bonneted Freightliners, running within that leading gaggle when we go racing. We've got Bjorn Tiehaus up there as well for the outside of the second row. Norbert Kish will start 8th. So the slightly smaller grid this evening, just because of one or two drivers not being able to make it for today, means that there's less, if you like, behind the top 8. But the good thing is we still got that nucleus of the fast top 8 drivers all set for action. The field here coming through the turn 6, 7 and 8 sequence. At the tip of the lap is the hairpin at turn 10, through that very sharp right-hander they will go. That in turn loops them back round. And the Czech fans all getting set for racing here. Shane Brereton has been a reverse grid race winner here in the past. The reverse grid race, we only got one last year because of the cancellation of day 2, but it was René Reinert who was the winner there. René set to go real world racing, of course, in the next couple of months. And the field here rumbles down the hill, ready for the start of the race. The pace truck accelerates through, and you see Jamie Anderson on his toes there. And Shane Brereton has lost it on the parade lap, on the formation lap. So Shane Brereton, he was on the back row anyway, but Shane, I suspect the curb may have tipped him into that. So he rode the curb a little bit aggressively. But Shane Brereton has had a big, big slide. Thankfully, he didn't catch anybody else up in it, but that's going to put him quite a long way back from the pack when we go racing in a moment. So the field drops downhill here through turns 15, 16, 17. Wait for me, Shane. Shane Brereton is on his way to try and get back onto the rear of the pack. Former oval racer, salute stock cars, national hot rods and the like before going into ASCAR and late model stock car racing. But in track racing, Shane has been a big hit. The Apollo Tyres MAN, immaculate when it debuted at the Nürburgring last year, and then by the end of day 1 was so beaten up we didn't see it for the second day of European racing. But Shane's a handy driver. He should make progress in this race, I would have thought. The formation lap is under investigation just to see what was going on. But we are set for the start of the race, and the key point to all of this is going to be what happens at the chicane, diving down towards turns 1 and 2. This is race 10 within the FIA ETRC Digital. This is the approach to the last corner. Jamie Anderson nearest us. Adam Lachko is the man on pole position. Is it going to be Lachko or Calvé then who makes the break? Norbert Kirsch in the red MAN is the other man to watch, of course, to see what progress he can make if others are getting into strife. The race about to get underway. Again, there'll be the audio alert on TeamSpeak to tell the drivers green. And Tyhouse is on his toes, and so is Hahn as he goes to try and get up past Norbert Kirsch. Adam Lachko leads, but he gets the gap on the inside line. Theo Calvé tries to take advantage of that. Tyhouse keeps on coming on the outside line. This could all end in tears, couldn't it, as they brake hard. Anderson gets a big whack in the back. That forces Tyhouse out wide. Who is going to come through in the lead? Who's going to survive? Well, it's not Jamie Anderson because he gets roughed up. Lachko's off wide in the gravel as well. And Adam Lachko from first to last. Norbert Kirsch is already up into 5th, I would offer you. And the leader is Tyhouse with Calvé second. So he certainly wasn't given an easy ride by his teammate. Lentz is ahead of Andre for 3rd and 4th. Kirsch 5th, 6th is Hahn. And Bjorn Tyhouse leads in FIA ETRC Digital for the first time. Calvé needs to, and he knows this, get on with the job before he comes under attack from Sasha Lentz. Look back from the Freightliner here. This is turn 10. Calvé, 2nd, 3rd Lentz, 4th Andre, where's Kirsch? He's 5th, 6th is now Shane Brereton getting himself up past Lucas Hahn, who is on his toes trying to fight back. Those two are side by side in the background, but Shane Brereton is ahead. Down the hill they come then, stand on the brakes, and a red flag is being shown. A red flag is being shown. Now everybody, I think, is still circulating, but the officials are stopping the race. So the reason for that is not immediately apparent. Theo Calvé disconnects and will reconnect when we are ready for the resumption of the race. So more news as soon as we have it. Red flag shown then. Now we've had that a couple of times this year, partly because of incidents, partly because of drivers having a problem with their servers. So let me quickly look to see what's coming from the race control channel. And turn 1, lap 1 is under investigation, but for the moment, it's a red flag. We'll bring you more news as soon as we have that. The drivers will be asked to reconnect to the server, and we'll try and get some more news as to the exact reason for it. As we'd seen, there were lots of incidents at the first corner, but I was pretty sure that everybody was still circulating. There were so many incidents in the first corner, however. I think just about everybody touched somebody else. Even though they all survived, it was felt that there'd been so much drama at the first couple of corners to give everybody a sporting chance, we would go again. So we will have, in fact, we're getting the replay here of the start. We will have the drivers reconnect. Let's see if we can pick out where all the drama came from. Certainly Jamie Anderson got a knock in the back, and that forced him out wide. Bjorn Tyhouse is going to be the one really grumpy about this because he got the lead. There's more skirmishes. Look, so both Freightliners got involved, as did Lentz. Jamie Anderson delayed. Those at the rear of the grid just about survived it, but Shane Brayton, a bit like Bjorn Tyhouse, will be grumpy because he'd made progress out of all of that. Now he's put to the back of the grid. Now, penalties can be applied from that incident in the second part of the race, I am being told. The drivers are now being asked to join the race server, and we have about 3-4 minutes before the restart time. So just a very quick shuffle around for the drivers. The race director, Rolf Werner, may well be on TeamSpeak to them all, just asking for calm. It's silly me, because I said in the first race, didn't I, that there'd been no penalties and driving standards were looking good. Equally, you've heard from drivers talking about how important the first couple of corners are, and especially on a sim, where you haven't got other trucks around you and it's a different feel on that sim, perhaps you take a few more risks. Either way, contact aplenty and a restart in what is now 3 minutes time. So the trucks will get themselves onto the track. We might just have time for a very quick break and catch breath, and then we'll be right back with the action in race 2 here from Most.
At home in Germany, on the go in the world. Every year, up to 20,000 vehicles drive from our depot in the Swabian town of Burtenbach out into the world.
Novum is our new fully revised trailer concept. Novum not only introduced the new external frames and body, but also the new optimally designed Kugel modular system with optimized uniform new modulus assemblies and components.
In the category concept, first place was awarded to Burtenbach.
Kugel's innovative Novum generation trailers have been awarded the International Industry Prize Trailer Innovation 2019 in the Supreme Discipline concept at IAA Commercial Vehicles.
Our mission is to move your freight, thereby making our contribution to your profitability, so that your cargo arrives quickly, safely, and efficiently. Today, tomorrow, always.
So we are going to have another go at race 2 here at Most. Pace lap underway, the formation that then, and the officials giving everybody another chance here. So 1 or 2 drivers lose out, 1 or 2 drivers benefit, of course. So swings and roundabouts for all of them. The pace truck, the Mercedes Actros, leads them around, and 25 minutes already, of course, has started, and then we'll have the regulation lap tagged on at the end. Adam Lachko, Theo Calve, the 2 Freightliner drivers up near the front of the grid. Shane Brayton, by the look of it, is not there. So Shane Why is he not on the server? Plot thickens. And is it too late for him to join now? So he's certainly not on the grid. So that's a great shame, because actually Shane Brereton was one of the drivers who was benefiting from the skirmishes on the opening lap before the red flag. And whether that's why he's a bit frustrated that the race was stopped and he's not taking part, I don't know. But either way, Shane Brereton is, sad to say, not on the back row of the grid. So down towards the midpoint of this formation lap they come. Adam Lachko on his toes then. Jamie Anderson also wanting to try to get ahead of Adam on the run to the first corner, and getting a little bit more aggressive than a formation lap normally would indicate this. Both of them want to win this race. Theo Calvé also wants a second win of the season. Another reverse grid success could go his way. So Jamie Anderson here, look, as they come from underneath the Goodyear Bridge around the back of the paddock. It's a great spectator circuit, Moss. You can go stand on the pit straight overlooking that section, or stand in the paddock even, and you're quite high up. You can look down on this back part of the circuit, and because of the nature of it, lots of twisty corners, you can see a good section of the circuit from pretty much wherever you are. So the pace truck here brings the field up towards turn 20. We will go racing at the end of this, and hopefully we'll get the full race in this time. Pace truck here turns through the turn 20 right-hander. So is it going to be a new Victor? Is it going to be a repeat for Calvé or a repeat for Norbert Kish? We are about to find out. Bjorn Tiehaus, there he is behind us, was leading at the time of the stoppage in the Scania. Now though, we are set to go racing as the trucks make their way up towards the timing line. So the drivers will get the signal on TeamSpeak in a moment. Green, the race underway. Jamie Anderson, I would say, was slightly ahead of Adam Lachko coming up towards the line. But Jamie Anderson it is who leads then as the trucks dive down towards the first corner. But can Jamie Anderson cut across and defend that race lead? Where is Calvé in all of this? Well, he's there being given a tap in the back by Bjorn Tiehaus. He's up the inside of Adam Lachko. He rides the curb. Lentz is alongside Andre. Kish is alongside Hahn. And they've all, this time, got through turn 1 safely. But it is Jamie Anderson then who leads the way, and Adam Lachko is defending strenuously from his teammate. Through they turn, heading up towards us now with Jamie Anderson in charge. Number 23 is under investigation. I said Jamie looked as though he was a little bit ahead of Adam Lachko, and the race control team is going to have a look. So Jamie Anderson, it could have been that Adam Lachko was going slowly, but either way, Jamie looked to be in advance and he's got the race lead, but is it a legit lead? We'll find out as they're wide and sideways and losing a spot. Lucas Hahn, that gives Franz Smith the chance to come up and past him. So under investigation is Jamie Anderson, and there under attack is Adam Lachko because he's got Theo Calvé right up behind him. Fourth currently is Tiehaus, fifth is Lentz, sixth is Andre, seventh is Kish as they come through. There is Sasha Lentz. Now, is this a chance for Sasha to make progress? Bjorn Tiehaus goes to the inside there against Calvé. Calvé's attacking Lachko. Theo Calvé should get the place here. He leans on his teammate, but he's got the inside line and through he goes. So Theo Calvé goes up into second spot. If there's a penalty coming for Jamie Anderson, that will help Calvé even further. And what progress of Norbert Kish for the moment? He's still struggling to make his way through. He will make his way through, but it's not proving to be that easy at the moment. He's up alongside Andre. 10-second penalty for Jamie Anderson. So Jamie Anderson gets a 10-second penalty for an out-of-position start. And that is not what he wanted at all. Anderson sideways, and he's up against the wall as well. I think he's just got the message, and he's very grumpy about it. So Jamie Anderson is given a penalty, but it looks like he's escaped from the race anyway. So now Theo Calvé leads the way. Second, as they come through, is going to be Adam Lachko. Third is Lentz ahead of Tiehaus. Andre is next. And a warning goes the way of Lentz for track limits as he goes through on the inside line there. Jonathan Andre comes up to have a go against Bjorn Tiehaus. So the leaders accelerate towards us now. Norbert Kish up past Sasha Lentz. Kish has made short work of the opposition there, hasn't he? He's up into third place now, chasing after the Freightliners. there. Hahn on the attack against Andre now. So there's a lot happening in all of this as Hahn tries to get himself up through the order. Likewise, at the moment, you've got the battle going on between the Iveco and the MEN, Hahn and Andre, but also Norbert Kish is closing on Lachko for second place. Hahn goes through, Hahn goes off. So does Smith in the background in the mirror there as well. So Jonathan Andre is on the attack once again. Now, Theo Calvé is getting away, but is he building a lead enough? And what could Adam Lachko do to try and preserve that second place, to delay Kish and enable his teammate to get away? There they are, look, they come towards us with Lentz coming back at Kish there. So through they turn. Adam Lachko is doing what the team needs him to do. He's defending. If Sasha Lentz can have a go at Norbert Kish, that's going to help Theo Calvé even more. Here they come over the timing line now. We're getting warnings for Andre for pushing. We're getting a warning also going the way now of Hahn for pushing. Hard on the brakes, Norbert Kish right on the back of Lachko here. Can he find a way by? Let's see. Adam Lachko is doing a good job of defending. Norbert Kish may not necessarily agree with that, but what this is doing as far as the Bagheera Racing squad is concerned is enabling Calvé to get away. There is the leader, look, bouncing over the curbs. And Adam Lachko is the cork in the bottle. Kish right up behind him, then Lentz, and actually we've got Tyhouse, Hahn and Andre catching back up again. There is Kish to the outside line. Tries to go the long way round, that's not going to work. Can he get the undercut coming out of the corner? No is the answer. So Jamie Anderson we have lost from the race. Very frustrated about his penalty. And right now, Theo Calvé is the race leader. There you've got Norbert Kish on the attack. Is he going to be able to find a way around the outside of Adam Lachko? Not there, he's not. But Lachko might go a little bit wide. Now Kish is on the prowl, very definitely. Tries to run up alongside and he swoops through. Norbert Kish goes second. And Sasha Lentz is on the attack as well. But now you see the problem is that Kish can escape up the road. Now Lachko's busy defending. Lentz needs to get past him as rapidly as possible because otherwise there's going to be too much of a gap to try to make up. So Norbert Kish 5 seconds back at the moment. There's Lentz. Very, very wide line to try and get a good run onto the pit straight against Lachko, but all that's going to do is let Tyhouse get up alongside him. So Lentz goes wide, leaders go through, and Bjorn Tyhouse on the inside line should be able to gain the place here. Brakes hard, brakes late into turn one. Lentz on the outside for the first element, will have the inside for the second part. Hahn is crawling all over Andre. In fact, he's gone ahead of him, has he? Yes, he has. Lentz fends off Tyhouse. Hahn's ahead of Andre. Trouble is, for all of this good battling, Norbert Kish is ahead of the ball and escaping up the road. Franz Smith there in the background comes out of turns 1 and 2. Tyhouse under attack from Andre. Towards as they come. Kish then getting away from Lachko. Hahn given a second warning now for pushing. And there goes Bjorn Tyhouse through as, at the moment, the fastest lap of the race was credited to Jamie Anderson, because he was the first man across the line at the end of that opening lap. We're getting a second warning now going the way of Jonathan Andre, again pushing. There is Lentz. He's all over the back look of 55, which is Adam Lachko. But Sasha again is a little bit ragged, runs out wide, and now Lucas Hahn's going to have a go. A third warning even for Jonathan Andre now for pushing. So the yellow MAN in the background 3 strikes effectively and has now had 3 warnings from race control. So Jonathan Andre needs to be careful here, otherwise you're going to get a big penalty. Hahn to the inside of Lentz, and a drive-through comes for Jonathan Andre. You'll get the message. Over the timing line goes 55. So Adam Lachko still hanging on to 3rd place. Sasha Lentz 4th. Lucas Hahn is 5th. Lentz should be able to make some progress here, but Lachko is a good defender. Moves across to the inside line, covers off that line there, look. Fastest lap of the race, Norbert Kish thus far, and he is closing on Theo Calvé. The gap is only 3 seconds. We've got 13 minutes and a lap to go. Brilliant fight for 3rd though. Lachko, Lentz, then Hahn up to 5th ahead of Tyhouse and Andre. And any one of those could end up 3rd. Possibly not Andre, he's got this drive through, but if all kicks off ahead of it, he could even make up some of the lost ground. There, out wide goes Lachko, to the inside line looks Lentz. And round the outside as they swoop downhill. This is Sasha Lentz's chance, and he will go through up into 3rd place. It's taken him a while to get past Lachko. Hahn's going to try and attack as well on the inside line, but Lentz has made it stick. So has Hahn, easy peasy. Lucas Hahn, because the door was forced open, he just takes full advantage of that, dives through. And although Hahn was pretty badly delayed early on, he's making really good progress here. So Adam Lachko down to 5th. The lead gap is being slashed away now. Theo Calvé is 2.6 seconds clear of Norbert Kish. Now, granted, Norbert's got to catch, then he's going to try and find a way past. You're on board with Tyhouse, looking back at Jonathan Andre. This is 6th and 7th. That is Jonathan Andre serving his drive-through penalty. You see the way the truck tightens its line, goes down the pit lane. So Calvé leads the way. It was 3.5 seconds, and now it is down to 2.3. So Norbert Kish is going to be on his tail by the end of this lap, potentially. Theo Calvé through turn 3 here, trying the best he can to break clear. There is Fran Smit in the Hecker run MAN, running out of road at turn 1, and you get that wrong, and of course you completely compromise going into turn 2. There is a soft version of that chicane, a bit like you have at the Nürburgring, but there you see the evidence of it, but it'd be too fast for the trucks to get through, so they have to be slowed down. The heavy braking zone for that hard chicane. Fran Smit then battles on. There is Lucas Hahn, his father, 6 times a European champion, and Lucas here is closing onto the back of Sasha Lentz. Down the hill they power. Great view on board. You see the way the truck leans. They're much stiffer than the very early days of road-going racing trucks, but even so, there's still a lot of roll within these that the drivers have to adapt to. Under the Goodyear Bridge now. More heavy braking, more gentle application of the power. Lucas Hahn there fighting the wheel, edging ever closer to the back of Sasha Lentz. Another toot of the horn. Behind Hahn, you've got Lachko, but this is for the race lead. 10 minutes and a lap to go, and Theo Calvé's on borrowed time, isn't he? Norbert Kish is right there behind him, on board with Kish now. So Theo Calvé had done the hard yards, got himself into the lead, but now he is really in jeopardy. Norbert Kish right there on his tail. 2.3 seconds was the gap. It's now half a second as they come through, and Norbert Kish continues to be the fastest man in the race. Brakes hard for turn 1. So they've done now 6 laps. 13 is what we're anticipating based on what we had in race 1. So in other words, for Theo Calvé to still stay up front for another 9 minutes on the lap, that's a big ask. 7 laps, I should say, now done. Screen updating itself a little slower when the trucks come through, but 7 laps in the book. out of a 13-lap race, potentially. Where does Kish make his move? When does Kish make his move? You see now Calvé using all of the curbs there. Norbert Kish crawling all over the back of the Frenchman. The other French driver, Jonathan Andre, back on track, but he's now trying to play catch-up against the 7th-placed Grant Smith. Race leaders down the hill once more. Calvé fend off Kish. Cannot afford to put a wheel wrong here. He's got to cover every line. Look at the pace of Norbert Kish as Calvé goes wide. Norbert's up alongside him. He should be ahead as they come back into view, and he is. He's pounced. Norbert Kish has done it. Takes full advantage there. Théo Calvé going slightly wide, coming down the hill. The more experienced Norbert Kish goes through. Now, can Calvé fight back, or is Norbert Kish going to drive away? Down the hill they plunge. You can see Calvé there tightening the line, using the curb, but Norbert Kish is the man. He's away. Sacha Lenz running behind them in 3rd, keeping at bay Lucas Hahn. Adam Lachko in 5th place. Théo Calvé, at least now, has something to gauge his pace against. He knows when to brake because he's judging all of this against the back of Norbert Kish. Kish is the man in charge, though, as they head up towards the line here. And Norbert Kish just showboating a little bit now. I'm ahead, and I'm going to be quicker than you, he says, getting all sideways. Here's the replay. So coming down the hill, Théo Calvé hits the curb, goes wide, and look at the speed of Norbert Kish. He's right there, bang, straight past him. So, 0.6 of a second is the margin in this new order. Kish from Calvé. Down through turn 1, they turn. Théo Calvé doing his best to stay in touch. Now, what about 3rd? Sacha Lenz has managed to shake off the challenge of Lucas Hahn, no question about it. Adam Lachko is just being given a warning for pushing. Adam, a rather frustrated 5th now as Calvé tries to come back at Kish. Now, is this Norby making a race of it? Or, well, Théo Calvé has a good look to the inside there. It's game on once more. Calvé all over the back of the MAN here. So the bonneted Freightliner versus the cab over MAN. A warning now goes the way of number 15, Bjorn Tyhouse, for pushing. So 10 we started with, 8 still circulating, most with warnings, apart from Norbert Kish and Théo Calvé, who are still the top 2 in the race. And is Théo Calvé going to be able to fight back? Remember, the next stop on the championship trail is going to be Zolder. And right now, Norbert Kish aims to rather rub the Czech team's nose in it here, because Théo Calvé in 2nd place, not being able to make that move as they come under the Goodyear Bridge. The gap is widening, isn't it? You can just see as this lap has gone on, bit by bit by bit, how the margin has stretched. Way up the curb there, Théo Calvé. Now that might be something to alert people for track limit observation, but it's not really doing him a whole lot of good anyway as they come down to turn 20. Under the Grammar gantry here, brake hard. So the race leaders go through as one. Norbert Kish is not storming away. It might be that he's quite content to make a race out of all of this, or it might be that Théo Calvé now is adjusting his pace because he's got something to judge it against. Often it's easier to chase than be chased. Here is Tyhouse versus Lachko. This is for 5th. Adam Lachko that started on pole position, dropping down and down and down the order. Through they come, up towards the line. Another toot on the horn as Lachko goes by, but he is not close enough to have a go at Bjorn Tyhouse here as they brake hard for turn 1. It's a long, long, long pit straight. 4 kilometres long, don't forget, is this circuit. So Norbert Kish, fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 1.4. Through goes Lachko. There is the leader, there is Norbert Kish. And Calvé is back on his tail. Is there an opportunity for Théo Calvé to make a move? Ideally, he wants to try and force a mistake out of Norbert. They don't come very often, that's for sure. Down the hill goes the MAN, down the hill goes the Freightliner. In the background is a lonely Lenz, Sacha Lenz, in splendid isolation in that 3rd place. Race leaders over the brow here. So Norbert Kish going for 9 out of 10 in terms of race wins. The only man to have beaten him is the man that's doing the chasing right now, early race leader Théo Calvé. So whether he starts 8th or starts on pole around Most, it seems to be no problem for Norbert Kish. And again there, look, Calvé trying his best, carrying the speed, but running wide, compromising the run onto the next part of the circuit. So Norbert Kish, the leader, out of turn 20. And again, Theo Calvé just losing a little bit of time. He's a little bit more scrappy here. He's less experienced in sim or real world racing. He's on the power and sideways as he comes onto the pit straight now. The banking's overlooking the circuit. The leader goes through. Norbert Kish then powering his way onto the first corner, chased by that man, Theo Calvé. Third length, fourth Hahn, but the gap's not coming down. So Calvé wriggling his way out of the first couple of corners. There's the man that's doing the chasing, Sascha Lentz, next in the queue. Lentz through, there is Hahn, who in turn has shaken off any challenge of Tiehaus, and Adam Lachko is not being able to retaliate in 6th place. Adam is still stuck there. You get the feeling more than any of them he is looking forward to real world racing, because that is certainly his forte. He's struggled in these digital races. So there is Jonathan Andre, who is in 7th. Remember, he had a pit stop, that drive-through penalty for pushing earlier on, and this is set to be Jonathan's worst result, bizarrely. So the French driver, who is a guest, taking over the entry of Anthony Janiette, comes towards us. There, look, is Franz Schmidt in the Clement Hecker MAN. And as he makes his way out of the first handful of corners, almost at the end of the lap, again is Norbert Kish. He will have 2 more laps after this, looking at the clock. So as he drops down the hill, there is Kish. Look back, there's Calvé, but the gap is widening. Now it's over 1.8 seconds. So Calvé falling away from Norbert Kish, who looks like win number 9 is heading his way. We've got Zolder, Le Mans and Jarama still to go in the championship. Norbert Kish braking hard, and now on the power. Calvé again, look, rides the curb. If he can buy back another few fractions of a second, it's worth giving that a punt, but it's just not really helping because Kish is still the fastest driver. Kish to Calvé, 1.3 seconds in fact at the end of the lap, so the gap's down slightly. That's 11 in the book, 2 to go. So the race leader, Norbert Kish, towards us. What about Sascha Lentz's pace relative to Theo Calvé? Sascha did a 2 minutes 2.4 and Calvé 2 minutes 3. So actually Lentz currently lapping quicker than the 2 ahead of him. The gap is coming down. I don't think it's going to come down enough to allow him to challenge. Fastest lap of the race, I've been saying, Norbert Kish 2 minutes 1.4. Lentz at 2 minutes 2.2 as his best lap. So it was a demon lap early on by Kish, but right now Lentz looking strong, no question. Is he going to get close enough, though, to Calvé to attack before the end of the race? Norbert Kish looks as though he's home and dry for another win. There'll be 1 more lap to run at the end of this for him, though. There, going through behind, is number 20, Theo Calvé. And then Sascha Lentz will come over the brow for 3rd spot. There is the SL Truck Sport entry. He turns, and right now Lucas Hahn is 4th, Bjorn Tiehaus is 5th, Adam Lachko 6th, Jonathan Andre 7th, and Franz Schmidt 8th. Remember, we lost Jamie Anderson, not because of the penalty, but because he did not see reason to continue after being penalised. And Shane Britt had never got into the restarted race, so it's a slightly smaller finishing number than we normally get. There's Hahn, who showed good racecraft early on, but now has dropped too far away, and he's well clear, as you can see, of Bjorn Tiehaus behind him. So the race leaders start the last lap of the race. There is Tiehaus, behind him is Lachko. A final lap confirmed as Tiehaus in the Scania powers up towards us. There's a rig that's done many a racing mile. You see the safety netting in the window. There going through behind is Adam Lachko in the second of the two Freightliners. Teammate Alia Kovac not able to race tonight. Antonio Albafete missing, but will be back. And Jose Eduardo Rodriguez absent as well. There is Jonathan Andre, who took his penalty and is back in the race. Makes his way over the timing line. It would have been interesting to see where 10 seconds in the outcome would have put Jamie Anderson, actually, because as battles have raged and gaps have opened up, it may not have cost him all that much time, or as much in terms of places, I should say. Either way, we'll never know, because he's a retirement. And there is Andre starting his last lap now, going down through turns 1 and 2. Franz Schmidt over the line, makes the run onto his final lap. So the Clemens Hecker MAN, Franz Schmidt will get half a point for his 10th place in the first race, and he'll get a point and a half for 8th in this, because as a guest he's eligible only for 50% of the points. Maximum points though will go the way of Norbert Kish, because he is about to come through to score win number 9 out of 10 races. Theo Calve is the man doing the chasing once more, but having lost that lead, he's not likely to get it back. The gap is down, but I think this is Norbert Kish just making sure that he makes it safely to the flag. No errors are forthcoming. It's Sasha Lentz chasing home in 3rd place. Sideways to the flag. Norbert Kish accelerates onto the pit straight, showboats his way to the line, and Norbert Kish wins for the 9th time this year. Norbert Kish is victorious. 2nd is Theo Calve, and 3rd to Sasha Lentz. What about 4th? It will be in 22, Lucas Hahn. 5th place will go the way of Bjorn Teichhaus from Adam Lachko. Jonathan Andre is going to be 7th, ahead therefore of Franz Schmidt in 8th position. There is Bjorn Teichhaus coming over the line, and the next one through is going to be Adam Lachko in 6th spot. So another action-packed start. I think actually after the first few laps, once people had sorted themselves out, it was a relatively calm race 2. There is Jonathan Andre going by. Shame about his penalty as well, because he's been so competitive this year. Had he been able to stay in that leading gaggle, it makes one wonder what he could have done. Here is Franz Schmidt making his way up towards the timing line. Through he turns, up to the flag, and finishes in 8th position. So Norbert Kish has done it again. Norbert Kish is the race winner from Theo Calve and Sasha Lentz in 3rd. There you can see Norbert Kish still totally focused, total concentration here, knowing where to get sideways on his in-lap. And it's great that the drivers do this in the sim world as they do in the real world on a slowing down lap, heading back to the pit lane. So he's done it again. Norbert Kish then for win number 9 of the season. The championship lead increases yet further. And there, as the rig pendulums its way round the back of the paddock, tyre smoke and all, there is a master of a truck, whether it's on a real race circuit or in the sim world. And with a big smile on his face, Norbert Kish has certainly enjoyed 2 races at Moss. Norbert, well done. Another victory. Was that a bit harder once you got ahead of Theo? He was still with you.
Thank you. Well, it was definitely special and difficult. You know, at the start, I don't really know what happened at the first start. You know, fortunately I was clean and nothing happened around me. So I don't know what caused the red flag, and also the second start was pretty clean around me, and I think I gained 1 position there. I could overtake Lucas at the start, and then there was a pretty special overtake, moreover, in the first chicane. I don't know if you guys saw that, when I overtook three trucks on the exit of the first chicane. I think it was Andre with the Lion truck and Björn with the Scania, and I think Sasha. They were fighting really hard on the entry of the chicane and on the second part of the chicane, and I could see them that the exit will be very bad for them. So I aimed for the exit and then overtake them on the exit. It was a really special moment. And then, yeah, I could see that Adam is trying to defend really hard, you know, to give Theo a little bit of a space. But then also Adam made a mistake, and I could overtake him, and then started to catch Theo. And then, yeah, this time he cracked under pressure, you know, because just as I arrived behind Theo, he made a mistake. Also, he ran wide in the fast right-hander in the back of the circuit. He ran wide. He slowed down in the grass and the gravel a little bit. With I think he was half of the track was of the circuit, you know, in the gravel. He slowed down, and then I could overtake him also there. So, yeah, it was there was some special moments, and there was some lucky moments as well. But yeah, really happy with the victory.
Fantastic. Norbert, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The next stop for the championship is going to be Zolder in a couple of weeks' time. So we'll see how the battle develops there. Now, let's have a quick word with Theo Calvé, winner at the Nürburgring, second in this reverse grid race. Theo, you tried to keep Norbert behind you, but a tiny little mistake.
Yeah, I made a mistake when Norby tried to catch me, but it's okay. Second place is good for me.
You were able to catch back up to him. Was it easier having somebody to focus on rather than being in the lead yourself and having nobody ahead of you?
Yeah, that was good. I was able to follow him, so that was a good train. Maybe a good train for the next race. Maybe I will be in front of him. I hope.
Well, it was a great race to watch. Well done on second place. Another good result. Well done, Theo.
Thank you.
So Theo Calvé takes second and Sascha Lentz third, as we've seen on our virtual podium. So another lively second race that we've enjoyed this evening. Norbert Kish, the winner from Theo Calvé, Sascha Lentz in third. There is the podium. Fourth goes to Lucas Hahn ahead of Bjorn Teichhaus, Adam Lachko in sixth. Seventh, Jonathan Andre, Franz Schmidt eighth, with Jamie Anderson not finishing and Shane Brereton not starting the restarted race. So, two more lively races we've enjoyed from Most. As I've been saying, the next stop in 2 weeks' time is Zolder. And then we have another couple of weeks before we go to Le Mans and then to Jarama. Norbert Kish has increased the lead within the championship and is looking almost uncatchable now. The question marks come as to, can anybody beat him? And if so, whom? Well, this is how we look in the championship. Norbert Kish now on 195 points ahead of Sascha Lentz. The margin 63 between them. Theo Calvé is now third ahead of Antonio Albacete and Jamie Anderson. Next is the Portuguese driver Jose Eduardo Rodriguez from Adam Lachko, then Anthony Janiek and Lucas Hahn, Alia Koloc next behind. But it's going to be fascinating to see how the championship story develops when we go to Zolder on the 19th of July. That is the next stop for the FIA ETRC Digital. Zolder is another old school circuit. It's one that's always had a great link with truck racing, going way, way back to the mid-1980s when the first European Championship started. And it is one that develops spectacular racing as well, whether that's in the real or the virtual world. We look forward to your company on the 19th of July from a virtual Zolder, for now from a virtual Most, with congratulations to double winner Norbert Kish. From me, David Addison. It's goodbye.